Hello everybody, thanks for tuning to this video today. I really appreciate it. So previously, I reviewed a movie called Ace Ventura, the Pet Detective. Now I'm going to review a movie called Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. This is the sequel to Ace Ventura, the Pet Detective. That one came out in 1994. This came out the year after 1995. So yeah, honestly, this sequel was not that bad. It was actually pretty good. It's better than what the critics are making of it, definitely. So yeah. It's not as good as the first one, but still pretty good, and I really loved it. So yeah, this is a 1995 adventure comedy film starring Jim Carrey once again as Ace Ventura. The only other thing that returns in this movie is the monkey. Everybody else, the other cast members are all different. So yeah, so this film we have a bunch of new characters, and yeah, this is an entirely new story where Ace Ventura is now in the jungle, not in the city anymore. And yeah, but the story structure, it follows very closely to that of the first film. Like the first film, this dolphin goes missing and Ace Ventura has to go get it. And in this film, this bat goes missing and Ace Ventura has to go find it. So yeah, very similar story structures and things. Yeah, let's start with what I liked. Firstly, the comedy in this film, just like the first film, is fantastic. Great job to Jim Carrey. Every single scene, once again, that he's in, he steals it. This is his own thing, you all know that. Jim Carrey is one of my favorite comedians out there. He's incredible in this film, just like the previous one, the first one. So yeah, that's that. Also, there are certain things that I appreciate. So firstly, I appreciate that they are trying to veer off from the first film. The first film, like by bringing Ace Ventura, this character, into a new environment. So in the first film, he was in the city. In this film, he's in a jungle. So they're trying something new, and I appreciate that. And in this film, the scope of the film is much bigger than the previous one. In this film, if he doesn't get the bat, there's going to be a lot of deaths. In the first one, it's just for a game. He has to get a dolphin for a game, and that's it. But this one, like, there will be deaths if he doesn't get the bat. So yeah, so the stakes are much higher as well. So the film is also more serious. I appreciate that they went for a bigger scope. And another thing I appreciate is, like, if you remember in my first review, the review for my first film, I stated that the emotions in that film were lacking. In this film, it was clearly evident that they were trying to bring in some emotions. Like, they listened to the critics in the first film, so they are trying to bring in some emotion in this film. I appreciate that as well. And the music choices they brought in back from the first film were not bad. So yeah, that's that. Now, let's talk about drawbacks. I definitely do have more drawbacks than the first film. Here's the thing. I appreciate that the scope of the film is made bigger, because that's what you want your sequel to be bigger and better. But I wouldn't say this film was better, although the scope was bigger, mainly because the scopes are higher, the stakes are higher, and that made the movie very serious. If you remember the first film, the premise of the film was very silly, so that's why it was very funny. But in this film, the premise is actually quite serious, so it just takes out some of the comedy out of it. And yeah, that's a thing that I wanted to say. And remember that when I said I appreciate them bringing an attempt to bring in emotions. Yeah, they did attempt it, especially in the beginning scene. Yeah, it was only in the beginning scene that they tried to bring in emotions, like especially because he couldn't save the animal and the animal died in that cliff and things like that. Like, but that opening scene was actually forgotten. Like, after the opening scene, like, that scene is now irrelevant already after that scene, because everything else that happened after that scene in that movie it has nothing to do with that opening scene. Like, that scene is never brought up again. So I wish they made that opening scene more relevant throughout the story and things like that. Maybe Ace Ventura had PTSD from that and he's lacking confidence and things like that. I wish they did that, but they didn't. So it's quite, I wish they did that, but I appreciate the attempt though. And the first villain had this twist ending which didn't make sense. Okay, it didn't make sense, but it made the film funnier. This one, it made sense, and it was way too obvious, so it wasn't really that funny. Like, so it was lacking in the comedy, but the comedy is still stunning. It's great comedy, but it was still lacking compared to the first film. And yeah, other than that, overall, I believe this is a good sequel. And also the story structure. The story structure is being repeated here a bit, especially because he's going to find the animal that he's hired to find. And also there's the comedy scenes where, especially with the music, is quite repeated as well, so there's that. And yeah, overall a good sequel. Not as good as the first one, but still pretty good. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. Overall, I would say this is a great guilty pleasure film. And yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time.